Hare Krishna and happy Nityananda's appearance day. So we're continuing to read from Na Parayeham by His Holiness Shivaram Swami, Krishna in Vrindavan, Volume 2, chapter entitled Motivated and Unmotivated Love. So Krishna is answering the gopis' questions about which kind of lover are you. Yesterday we heard the first part of his answer, and now we're going to go into the second part. So these Shuka and Shadi, the male and female pair, are talking amongst themselves. Shuka created quite a commotion while elaborating upon Sri Krishna's first answer. As a result, a pair of cuckoos landed upon the branch beside them. These birds, possessed of the gloss of blackish monsoon clouds, were residents of Kokilavan, a forest abounding with kokila birds located just north of Yavat. Having seen the Maharas the night before, they were returning to their nest to begin a new day. While flying overhead, we were drawn by your song of ecstasy, said the male. As the chikora bird cannot resist moonshine, we could not resist your melodious kirtan, added his spouse. Please tell us what glories of Radha's lover you recited. The Kalpavriksha replied, this renowned son of Vyas detailed Hadi's answer to the irate gopis' questions on love. His words were a shower of nectar, refreshing like the first monsoon after the blistering months of summer. So there's male and female parrots. They're perched on the branch of a kalpavriksha tree, and the kalpavriksha tree also talks. So the chikora bird was flying overhead and heard the male parrot, narrating Krishna's answer to the gopis' question, and it caught his curiosity, so he's asking more about it. And Kalpavriksha tree is saying, yeah, he was speaking some real nectar. Oh, that sounds delightful, said the female cuckoo. Yes, do let us hear more, said the male. Bowing to their request, so low as to almost tip over, Shuka turned to his new guests and said, dear friends, I know you both as songsters of the highest merit. When Sri Radha lies in her lover's arms, it is only your melodious cooing that lulls them to sleep and wakes them up once again. What can a raspy-voiced creature like me say? Because the parrots are very famous in Vrindavan, but their voices are kind of shrieky. They're not so, like, it's not like a lullaby, their song. What can a raspy-voiced creature like me say? But since you have requested me to speak, I shall obey your command. Shifting a little here and there while chanting Hari, Hari, Shuka was about to recite the second shloka of Sri Krishna's answer, but then stopped, his reddish beak agape. No, just 1 minute. Dear friends, before speaking, I request one thing of you. My curiosity has aroused, and I request your kindness. Recently we heard that a wonderful incident took place in Yavat. Being residents of that place, you may have heard something. Please tell us what you know. Looking at each other, the cuckoos spoke in unison. There are so many wonders in Vrindavan. Of which one do you speak, brother? Looking here and there, Shadi interrupted. Shadi is the female parrot. We were told by reliable sources, whose names we cannot divulge at present, that one afternoon Govinda, disguised as a barber girl, entered Abhimanyu's house. Do you know anything about this? Concluded Shuka. I too know nothing, said the Kalpavriksha. Nodding his head in assent and flitting his rear tail, the kokila spoke in a honeyed voice. Late one afternoon, Devi and I were seated upon the bakul tree in Abhimanyu's courtyard. Sri Radhika was seated upon a gem-studded chair in the assembly of her girlfriends. Her husband had gone to visit Govardhan Malla, and Jatila was in the kitchen preparing his supper. Confined to this prison-like place, Sri Radha's heart burned in the fire of separation from Govinda. To mitigate her suffering, we flew to a lower branch and sang of Sri Krishna's glorious qualities. The kokila's wife said, I must admit, we had never sung so beautifully. It could have only been by the grace of Sri Radha that our voices melted, and melted the jewels decorating the palace walls. Wow, that was some really sweet voices. The kokila continued. Crystalline tears flowed down Radhika's mirror-like cheeks and moistened the cloth covering her breast. I thought my heart would break at such a pitiful sight. So unhappy was that beautiful girl. How cruel is fate, cried Kokila's wife. How can it combine how can it combine such unparalleled beauty and peerless character with the misfortune of marriage to Abhimanyu? Why was the Creator inattentive when he assigned Radha's spouse? Oh my, my, my. Just when I thought we too would faint from misery, Lalita entered the courtyard with a young girl in tow, said the Kokila. I tell you, this child moved like a puppet made of butter. Her entire form was covered with a golden sari, and only her eyes were visible through her veil. Although covered head to toe, some mystical effulgence like sapphires ground with musk shone through her cloth. Even the shadows of the courtyard were illumined. In her right hand she held a golden box, and with her left she held her sari in place. I have never seen such delicate grace displayed by the rhythmic movements of her limbs. Sri Radha was immediately attracted to her guest, as iron is to a magnet. Looking towards the girl while addressing Lalita, Radhika spoke in a voice that shamed ours. Sakhi Lalite, she said, who is this extraordinary girl behind you? For what reason has she come to grace our home? Pray tell me at once. I observed Lalita's mischievous smile as she replied, Radhe, I have brought a barber's daughter to trim your toenails and paint your feet. Do not object, for she has come solely out of love for you. Looking at Sri Radha's feet, the barber girl spoke with a never-before-heard voice. That voice was so enchanting that I lost my perch and almost fell to the ground. With what endeavor did we manage to keep our roost? Indeed, her voice caused the bakul tree to blossom and the stones in the courtyard to melt. There's a lot of melting going on in that courtyard. Dear Radha, Princess of Vraja, O life and soul of your Sakhis, having heard of your innumerable qualities and matchless beauty, I have come to render you some humble service. Please do not reject me. It seems that Radha was mesmerized by some magical mantra, and she sat in her chair like a golden doll, her heart, mind, and senses absorbed in the virtues of this barber girl. She could only respond like one under a spell. If you can improve on my foot lacquer, then do so, she murmured. Carefully, the barber girl placed her box on the ground and took Sri Radha's lotus foot in her lap. Whether it was the cool afternoon breeze or the touch of Radhika's feet, I cannot say, but that pretty girl began to shake as if from a high fever. Radha looked at her curiously and said, Child, are you suffering from a cold? To which the girl replied, No, Devi, the great privilege of your service is the source of my happiness. Then let us see how nicely you perform your vocation, Radha replied. The barber girl rubbed and rubbed Sri Radha's soles until they shone with reddish splendor. Every so often she would stop, bend forward, and closely inspect her work. I could hear her say, "O red footlacquer, do not be distressed, thinking you are not qualified to color these coral red soles. It is not by a shortage of good fortune that you have gained this position. Your fortune spreads to the head of Shamasundar, which will be beautified when your Swamini places her feet there. Fortunate you are to attain the shelter of Mahabhav personified." Then Radhika said, "All right, Lali, have you not finished your work?" To which the girl replied, "Shamaju, please wait until I perfect the finishing touch. Then you can judge for yourself the quality of my art." The barber girl finished her work. Jatila poked her head out of the door to see what Radha was up to. Assessing the situation in a moment, she returned to her work without a word. "What a fright!" Radha said, "Let us see what you have done," and looked at her own lotus feet. Seeing the girl's name written upon her feet, Radhika exclaimed, "Oh, what name have you written here? Shama, Shama, Shama? Explain yourself immediately. Who are you?" Flushed with embarrassment, the barber girl said, "Devi, I cannot write very well. You know, I am the daughter of a barber, and our education is quite limited. I meant to write, she wrote Sham, Sham, Sham. I meant to write Shama, Shama, Shama. And with this she held Radha's feet to her heart. Considering the girl's remarkable influence and the uncontrolled giggles of her Sakis, Radhika said, "Oh, it is you! It is you! How dare you come here in the light of day?" Shamasundar, who had appeared in the guise of a barber girl, pulled the veil over his face and, crossing his delicate hands, spoke in a captivating voice. "O Queen, I have rendered services according to my full capacity. Reward me as you see fit." Sri Radha was about to rebuke her lover when Jatila again emerged from the kitchen. Seeing the barber girl at Radha's feet, the implements of her trade idle, Jatila said, "Daughter, do not hesitate to remunerate those who render you some service," and with that she returned to work. Radhika's face lit up in a smile, and holding Shamasundar gently by the neck, she said, "Saki, what price do you request for your work?" Sri Krishna replied, "Radhe, your love is my only reward." With that, the cuckoo choked in ecstasy and stopped speaking. Hearing this pastime, Shuka had fallen into a trance and was now hanging upside down on the branch. Only by the mercy of the Kalpavriksha did he not fall on the ground. There was a long silence until Shadi and the Kokilas could speak, and Shuka regained his external consciousness. When he did, he pulled himself upright with his beak, and, tears falling from his eyes, said, "My dear Kokila, how can I ever repay you for the matchless gift you have bestowed upon me? As was rumored, this was truly a wonderful event. Thank you." "Yes, yes, thank you," echoed the Kalpavriksha and Shadi. Shuka steadied himself and went on. "Now I will continue to explain Sri Krishna's answer to the gopis. Darlings, please hear how the emperor of erudite scholars, the foremost enjoyer of the mellows of love, explained the position of ahetuka prema. Bhajantya bhajato ye vai, karuna pitaro yata, dharmo nirapavadotra, sohridam cha sumadhyama. So this is the verse on which this chapter is based. It's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-18. My dear slender-waisted gopis, some people are genuinely merciful, or like parents, naturally affectionate. Such persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true, faultless path of religion, and they are true well-wishers. Shuka was still intoxicated from the Leela spoken by the cuckoo. Tottering to and fro like a maddened bird, he repeatedly chanted the shloka, Bhajantya bhajato ye vai. In time, the other birds began to dance and sing, and the Kalpavriksha, lifting his roots and swaying his branches, like tapping his foot, he was lifting his roots, moved along the shore of the Yamuna in ecstasy. Over and over, Shuka chanted the last line, Sohridam cha sumadhyama, clapping his wingtips and dancing round and round. When he became peaceful, he resumed his perch and immediately sang the meaning of the word sumadhyama. Earlier, Krishna called the gopis Sakis. How sweetly he addressed them. Oh, my beloved girlfriends. Now, reassuring them of his eternal love, Govinda drew them closer with a more intimate name, O slender-waisted ones. What wonderful meanings are within this word, crooned Shuka. A year ago, I sat in the same tree as Govinda and his chums, while they teased the bathing gopis by stealing their clothes. From his perch over the Yamuna, Sri Krishna declared, O slender-waisted girls, please come forward one by one or all together and collect your clothes. Oh, what fun that was. By saying slender-waisted ones, Sri Krishna referred to more than the physical beauty of the gopis. Surely the young girls of Raj are the most exquisite beauties in the three worlds. Everyone knows that the heavenly society girls, Urvashi, Ramba, and Menaka, worship the Vraj gopis to retain their prominence in the court of King Indra. But one who possesses such external features must enjoy a corresponding wealth of internal virtue. Sri Krishna meant to say, "Your thin waists are symbols of celestial beauty, comparable only to your own symmetrical limbs, auspicious bodies, and delightful temperaments." The saying, "Wherever enchanting grace is visible, there must also be a wealth of virtues befitting such beauty," is well known to you all. No doubt innumerable swan-like qualities play within the pristine lake of your hearts. By the grace of such divine qualities, please heed what I have to say about the nature of unmotivated love, ahetuka prem, uh, of which you are the presiding deities. If you examine your hearts, no doubt you shall confirm what I have to say. "Oh, how lovely," said the Kokilas in unison. "Sri Krishna does know how to be kind when he wants to," added Shari. "But the substance of his words is most satisfying," said the Kalpavriksha. "In the world of men, where self-interest is the principal cause of affection, it is difficult to find genuine friendship or the observance of religious principles. Within this quagmire of lust, only a few rare souls are to be found who have developed selfless love, and who, by its influence, help others without expectations of return." Shuka continued, "Such people are as rare as a beautiful lotus within a muddy pond choked with algae. In this way, unmotivated love stands as a shining beacon within the darkness of illusion, declaring the endurance of purity, genuine friendship, and honest religious principles in this world." The Kokila said, "Compassion for the suffering of others is the most noble feature of the heart. Compassionate souls are naturally impelled to do good for others. They bestow their mercy without the expectation of reciprocal love." Shuka's wife added, "Oh, how many wicked creatures have been saved by the celestial Ganges of mercy that eternally flows from those saints whose hearts have melted in the fire of spontaneous compassion. Take the example of Prahlad Maharaj, that saintly son of the demon whose name should not be mentioned in Vraj." The Kalpavriksha said, "After being repeatedly tortured, Prahlad still petitioned Nrsingadev for his father's salvation and the welfare of all conditioned souls." "Prahlad is the exemplar of compassion and selfless love," replied Shuka. "Of this there is no doubt." "Now consider the example Sri Krishna used to describe naturally affectionate souls." "You mean parents," interjected Shari. "Yes, mothers and fathers. A mother bears her child for 10 months and then suffers the pains of childbirth, only to nourish her infant with the nectar from her breasts. She does so spontaneously and without expectation of return. This is love. Then the father maintains the child through the tribulations of boyhood and youth, sacrificing his body and soul without the reward of affection. This is love. O cherished congregation of Vrindavan, where such selfless love flourishes, one will find genuine friendship, deep attachment, and the pure execution of household life. This is the ahetuka prema of this world," concluded Shuka. The Kalpavriksha asked, "But is Sri Krishna to be classed among the category of the compassionate and naturally affectionate souls?" "Certainly not," emphasized Shuka, flapping his wings. "By no means is Govinda to be classed among those expanded by him as individual jiva souls, be they liberated or bound. Neither can their qualities, favorable or hostile, be ascribed to him, who is situated in a category of his own." "Please explain this further," requested the Kalpavriksha. "I think the subtleties of these teachings demand your artful explanation." Shuka replied, "I shall do as you request. Please listen carefully, for this is the implicit meaning of Hari's answer regarding the nature of selfless love. Sri Krishna said, Selfless love is but a mutual exchange among cheats. Oh, sorry. Selfish love. Selfish love is but a mutual exchange among cheats. It possesses neither true intimacy nor virtue. I have nothing to do with such deceit. On the other hand, that love, which showers compassion and affection upon even those who are ungrateful, is truly virtuous. However, these noble characteristics of saints and parents remain within the circle of worldly love. While they generate pious credits and stimulate an affinity for spontaneous devotion, they are far removed from the ecstatic love that attracts my heart. Therefore, I have no connection with such dealings. Wow. "Oh," exclaimed the Kokilas, Shadi, and Kalpavriksha, perplexed at Sri Krishna's esoteric instructions. because it's surprising because Krishna is saying that people who shower compassion and affection on even those who are ungrateful are truly virtuous. But then he says that he wants nothing to do with this. Even this level of love uh, doesn't attract his heart. I shall clarify the meaning of Gokulananda's words, smiled Shuka. Please listen. While mothers and fathers love their children without motive, their love is only for their own offspring. But Sri Krishna is the mother and father of all living beings, and thus his love is for everyone. How therefore can he be compared to worldly parents? Shadi exclaimed excitingly, I told you Hari loves us. Oh, he does. He does. True, but though Sri Krishna loves everyone, not everyone receives his love. This statement seemed to confuse even the Kalpavriksha. You see, Krishna is in a category all his own. Do not compare him to living entities, either conditioned or liberated, either in heaven or hell. Although he is always the father and mother of all beings, only those who accept his shelter receive his love. Everyone is an eligible candidate, yet only those eager for his affection cast aside the playthings of the world and open their hands to embrace the gift of love. Sri Krishna's affection is equally available to all, but only those devotees who have endeared themselves to Hari by their steadfast attempts to please him obtain that love. Say that again. Sri Krishna's affection is equally available to all, but only those devotees who have endeared themselves to Hari by their steadfast attempts to please him can obtain that love. Those arrogant fools who remain averse or indifferent to him are raised and nurtured by Govinda's nursemaid, his material nature, taken care of by the nanny. Thus, being everyone's parent, Sri Krishna exhibits his unlimited love according to the inclination of his children. That summarizes his view on parental love. May I clarify this? Inquired the Kokila. By all means, answered Shuka patiently. If I understand correctly, unlike mundane parents who nurture their own offspring, Hari loves all living beings, but his affection is directly bestowed upon his devotees, whereas it is only indirectly bestowed upon his faithless dependents. That is correct, confirmed Shuka. Now allow me to elaborate on those compassionate souls spoken about by our Krishna. Please remember that Govinda is the condensed form of Sat, Chit, and Ananda, and so grief never touches his heart. Thus we are obliged to ask, without grief, how can he feel compassion? The Kokilas turned to the female parrot and asked, Does he not feel compassion? Shadi turned to the Kalpavriksha and placed the same question before him. Shrugging his branches, shrugging his shoulders, shrugging his branches, Kalpavriksha looked to Shuka, who said, Please wait as I explain. There are two kinds of compassion. One is born of the mode of goodness, the other from the intrinsic nature of a Vaishnava. Consider the former. The worldly compassion of the virtuous is a transformation of the mode of goodness. Since these modes cannot approach Sri Krishna, how can such compassion arise in him? It cannot. Is that clear? Jai, replied the assembly in chorus. Then let us consider the compassion of a pure devotee, the Vaishnava. The 26 inherent qualities of a devotee include being kind to everyone, equal to all, charitable, benevolent, respectful, friendly, and compassionate. All these qualities interact during a display of compassion. Among devotees, those who are neophytes have not yet developed compassion. Those in the intermediate class exercise discrimination when showing compassion, and those in the topmost stage possess compassion to a superlative degree. The topmost Uttama Bhaktas, however, see no need to bestow compassion due to the influence of their ecstatic love, which grants them the vision by which they see everyone properly situated in service to the Lord. Therefore, only those who are or have descended to the platform of intermediate devotees, Madhyamadikaris, are impelled to exhibit compassion to others. I have already mentioned that the suffering of souls averse to Krishna does not automatically arouse his mercy. He is the Supreme Person full of transcendental pleasure. Just as darkness cannot touch the flames of a fire, sorrow cannot touch his heart. Thus, compassion for the afflicted does not arise within him. The fate of the foolish, however, does touch the heart of his devotees. Seeing the distress of those conditioned by Krishna's material nature, The hearts of the Vaishnavas melt with devotion. That devotion induces, hold on there. The fate of the foolish, does touch the heart of his devotees. All right. So, Krishna is not touched by sorrow. So when Krishna sees the suffering, this is what I'm trying to understand this. Krishna sees the suffering of the souls who are averse to him. It doesn't arouse his mercy. Thinking it's kind of like when parents, will punish a child, send the child to the room because they've been misbehaving. Then you can hear from behind the closed door the kids crying, and somebody else might be, feeling tormented by the agony, hearing the agony of the child, but the parents are like, no, let him just suffer there because he has to understand what he did wrong. They don't feel compassion. They're not going to go and open the door until it's time. So that's kind of like Krishna's position. Like, yeah, these people are suffering according to the laws of karma, and it is all well and good. But the fate of the foolish does touch the heart of his devotees. Seeing the distress of those conditioned by Krishna's material nature, the hearts of the Vaishnavas melt with devotion. That devotion induces Sri Krishna to fulfill the desire of his loved ones. Yeah, so that's like the kids in the room crying. The mother's just going about her household chores, and the father's just sitting there reading the newspaper or whatever. But then some guest comes to the house and is like, what's going on there? The child seems to be in a lot of distress. And they're like, it's okay. It's just, we're taking some disciplinary measures. But no, he's really troubling me. Maybe you can just let him out. Right? And then the parents will get up and go let him out to please the guest. So yeah, that devotion induces Sri Krishna to fulfill the desire of his loved ones. Thus he bestows his power of attorney upon his Madhyam devotees and gives them full freedom to distribute his love to the fallen. Is this not the case with Sri Narada and his merciful deliverance of Kuvera's sons? It is certainly so, replied the Kalpavriksha. By Narada's merciful desire, Nalakuvara and Manigriva received the blessings of Sri Damodar and purchased the treasure of Prema Bhakti. Such is the influence of the Vaishnavas. As these examples show, the love of Sri Krishna is available only through the grace of the devotees. This truth you all know well. How else could you have come to reside within the precincts of Vraj? In conclusion, the Vaishnav sadhus are imbued with compassion and freely distribute his love without discrimination. Govinda, on the other hand, possesses an entirely different nature. He is a unique entity and cannot be compared to parents, the righteous, or even benevolent Vaishnavas. The story of Asuri Muni and Mahadev demonstrates how Sri Krishna's mercy is invoked by the mercy of his devotees. I think we're going to hear about this story tomorrow because it's already 8:29 here. Yeah, this is a little bit of a long story. Okay, so stay tuned for tomorrow as we continue hearing about motivated and unmotivated love and how Krishna, the qualities of Krishna's love. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Nityananda Ram ki jai. I hope you all had a really nice, transcendentally ecstatic Nityananda's appearance day. Hari Bol.